Today we're going to talk about all 6 of the current SMGs within Vanguard. I'm giving you some best class setups, basic weapon stats, some gimmicky class setups in case you want to mess around, and then also kind of give you a heads up on the last 3 challenges. So if you're grinding them, that you're not going to be stuck on doing long shots, and then that challenge comes up and you got to do long shots all over again. So we'll kind of make that as seamless as possible. I'll even kind of give a heads up on which ones I think will make a smooth transition over to Warzone and potentially be meta. Enjoy the video, hit the like button. If you're brand new, want to find your way back, double check, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. So first thing we'll talk about is the how to test part. And this is a little bit more of a complicated process. I have to boot up a PlayStation with the accounts of my son, my brother's account. They both have to have PlayStation Plus. I have to load in on my PC, do Codcaster mode, look at the health and the various distances. But at the end of the day, that's pretty much what you got to do for all of the different combinations of stats. Cool. So once we've gone and done those specific testing, we can kind of look at the specific attachments. And there's some scenarios where maybe hollow point will actually make the limbs do more damage than the actual stomach. It'll give it that chest shot multiplier, but then the stomach's weaker. So there are certain combinations that we'll take a look at. Then we have it set up over here where we can go ahead and kind of look at these different things. So if I just go ahead and put in Sten, it'll do a normal Sten default build and it'll automatically update the TTKs. Then if we put something like the Type 100, it'll go ahead and do that part as well, where it automatically updates the RPM, the range. We go ahead and add meta to that. It'll update those to adjust for the specific attachments. So we've gone and we can see the individual TTKs. All that stuff's important. And the TTK in this game is generally not that crazy beyond 15-20 meters, except for the Owen gun is pretty nasty, as we'll go ahead and see. And then you can see the distance in meters and then the specific meta builds. There are some faster TTK options, but in terms of reliability and consistency, you're probably not going to go that route. It's going to be a little more gimmicky, and that's something we'll talk about once we get into the loadout. So right here, we can see the overall SMG meta builds in Vanguard. What we can see right here is the Type 100 ends up dominating. Currently, it's probably one of the most broken, so take advantage of it while you can, because this will guaranteed get nerfed and fixed, because there's kind of a bug that happens with one ammo type and the proficiency vital, which kind of kicks the damage into overdrive. As long as you get one chest shot, it's always going to be 2 shots to kill, which is pretty practical to get that TTK. Then next up, we have the Owen gun, which is pretty nasty, but because of the slower fire rate, it can be a little bit more unforgiving. It has a little bit more range on it, and then it does kind of have a little bit of a drop off. This is definitely a great gun for hardcore because that damage holds up pretty well, where it'll almost always be one shot. And then we also have the M1928, which is the Tommy gun, which comes out pretty competitively up to about 18 meters. And then you can see all these other weapons, and this is the most common TTK you will get. Obviously, there's more broken TTKs where if you get one headshot, if you get 2 chest shots, if you get this is the most common TTK that you'll likely run into when you're using these individual weapons. They all hover around 200 or less, so it's very competitive. All of them are very good, but at the end of the day, people want to use the broken stuff, at least until it gets fixed. And the Type 100 comes out top. So let's go ahead and kind of look a little bit at the loadout. So to make this a little bit easier, I've already pre-made these in private match, so you can kind of see them even though they are all max leveled, and kind of explain some of the thought processes, and then we'll kind of breeze through some of the other ones. Right here, the Thompson gun, I like a suppressor. Initially, I thought I would like the subsonic rounds and then maybe use something else, but overall, this ends up being a better combination. Often, I'll even use lengthen, but since this one's going to be more of a barrel stuff gun, you're going to want to rock hollow point because of how it impacts the damage values, which we talked about a little bit earlier. And then we got the Chariot Rapid. This is going to be a melt machine up close because of how fast the bullets are coming out. And then we have this 50-round drum, which does damage, recoil, all this other stuff. So it's going to be a little bit harder to control, I think, for the average player, but that's why you want to kind of keep it close range. If you want a little bit further range, you would probably build it completely different, but you want to maximize the strengths of this weapon. You're probably going to use it more as a running gun, a little bit longer than shotgun range, which, as you know, those are kind of broken, and that's kind of how that works. Frenzy, there's not really a lot of good options here. You could use Fleet. I mean, this really comes down to preference. The real combination of attachments at the end of the day comes out to be the Chariot Rapid, the 50 round drum, and the hollow, and you could really use whatever else you want if you're able to control it, the optic, whatever. And that's kind of how we would build this one out. So now when it comes to Warzone and how to integrate, I think a lot of Warzone really comes down to damage per mag when it comes to SMGs. There are things like we've seen with the AS Val where perform really well, but mainly in solos. This thing is going to have a 100 round mag. If you want to do that, it would be incredibly slow. So we'll see how they balance stuff out and if the damage stacks up, because the rate of fire is also pretty nice at over 800, which typically the meta weapons are usually about 650 up to about 900. Obviously the Mac 10's like closer to 1100. The faster usually the better, but you got to have the ammo to go with it. So I think this was going to be balanced by a slower aim down sight. Let's go ahead and go to the MP40. This one also is one of those weapons that I think in general pubs, if you're playing 8v8, 10v10, you'll probably go with the 64 round drum so you're not caught reloading. If you're playing wagers and S&D, you're probably going to go with the 32 round mag just because the extra damage, bullet velocity, one-on-one engagements. 32 bullets is enough to take on 2, maybe 3 people. Whereas you're not really going to get caught reloading. And then maybe you go with the recoil booster if you just want the fastest TTK. So overall, this one is kind of like a supplemental. You don't even have to have it if you wanted a better sprint out time. But overall, the sprint out time is pretty solid. 64 round drum, lengthened for the better bullet velocity since you can handle mid-range engagements with this thing. And then the silencer, like I said, to stay off the minimap. But if you don't care about that, recoil booster is a good way to go. And then all the other stuff is pretty much preference. Then when it comes to Warzone, I think this one will be a good fit because of the 64 round mag. I don't think the other ones will really cut it other than solos potentially. So this one's definitely one I would level up. I think in terms of recoil, it could be a very good sniper support. It's hard to say exactly where it'll fit. I think it'll fit kind of where the PPSH currently fits within Warzone, which is kind of like that short to medium range. Then we got the Owen gun, which again, this one right here, the precision is just to have as best recoil as possible. You can see it cuts down that by 40%, which is kind of huge. Or you can go no barrel if you want to have a little bit better sprint out time, but this one's helping your aim down sight. So it's kind of like an all around good one, especially since it's helping your vital damage, which is important, as well as your effective damage range, because it takes your vital damage from 49 up to 51. So when you do get those headshots in the mix and stuff like that, you are able to two-tap people, especially when the damage by itself is 50 up close. And then you go ahead and get this Kurz 50-60 round mag. This one will have a little bit more recoil because of this slower fire rate. You're able to get it recentered pretty quickly. And then we have the hollow point, which makes it so that it does 50 damage to the limbs within like the first 25 meters, which makes it almost always a 2-shot unless you just manage to only hit stomach shots. So it's pretty solid all the way across. And then most of this like stuff, I said, preference, you can kind of go whichever way. If you want more recoil control, if you want a different optic, if you want better strafe speed. And this is what we're going to notice a common trend with a lot of these weapons is they kind of have a common theme of, all right, cool, these are kind of the go-to just because the TTK is so nasty. In terms of Warzone, I think this one could be a really good sniper support. Very unforgiving up close because of that sub 500 fire rate. So I don't think it would be all that practical in Warzone for that unless you're just kind of like holding a lane. And this would be your sniper support because it is very low recoil and hits super hard. But slow fire rate tends to put it out of the meta. So I wouldn't expect the Owen gun to make it into the categories. PPSH, we already have a PPSH in Warzone, but we'll go ahead and talk about a loadout here. The Mercury silencer, the ZAC 300mm. This one's going to help your bullet velocity accuracy. It really only cuts down on your hip fire. And it's like all positive here. And then we have the 71 round mag. I did try this 35 and this thing is so nasty because the damage will always be 3-shot up close, but you end up burning through bullets so quick. You will delete people, but it's very hard to control and it's more of a gimmicky thing. If you want to mess around with it and maybe do like these ones here where you can get the fastest fire rate, crazy recoil, you can go that route. But this one is pretty solid overall as well. If you just want to have extra damage and you're going to play smaller modes like S&D, you could still go the recoil route like we have here with the bullet velocity and range, and then just go ahead and go with this short 35 round. And unfortunately, it doesn't have vital, or else it would be broken. I guess fortunately, I guess either way you want to look at it. And the hollow point closes that gap. because it will allow those limbs to do more damage. This one does have different iron sights if you want to go ahead and mix and match. If you prefer one type of iron sight or another, previous games we had to do that with different blueprints. I think this one will 100% be a Warzone one. I think it'll be kind of in line with the PPSH. If it's better, then it'll be the meta. If it's worse, then we'll just use the other PPSH. That brings us to the Sten, which personally I wasn't a huge fan of the Sten. It's super easy to use, but it's a little bit lower on the list overall. We got the Rapid, which makes its fire rate pretty good without hurting its vertical recoil too much. Side to side gets penalized pretty good. Then we got the 50 round drum, which is just a 50 round drum. You could go these other routes. They just don't seem like very beneficial for losing that damage. Even though your fire rate's so high, 32 bullets, you burn through that pretty quickly. 50 is kind of a good way to go. Lengthen for the little medium to long range. And that's kind of it. This one's pretty straightforward. Nothing special about this one. When it comes to Warzone, because it's 50 round drum, I could see it kind of be performing like an MP7, where it's going to be a little bit more of a longer range option, medium. A lot of these kind of fall into sniper support, the little vibe that we're getting from them. And the fire rate's completely nasty with the over 850. So it's in a pretty good spot. Then we have the broken Type 100, which currently the biggest important part of this is the 30 round mag and vital. By the time this makes it a Warzone, this probably is going to be fixed, so I don't really stack it too high without this combination. 40 round drum is kind of small too, so unless they modify that slightly to give you more ammo, I don't really see that being the case. And that's kind of pretty much how that part goes. So when it comes to the Thompson, pretty much you're going to do these in order because the last three are kills without damage, crouch, and then ADS kills, so pretty straightforward. When it comes to the MP40, pretty sure most of you already have that gold, but the last three are long shots. So you want to go ahead and save those long shots to combine it. Kills without damage, and then headshots, which overall, if you should have headshots by the time you reach that, but if not, there it is at the end, so you kind of know those specific challenges. The Owen gun, if you go ahead and do the Owen, you can see the last three are hip fire, ADS, and then point blank. Obviously, don't prioritize point blanks. They're super easy now because they're close range. Even though this still says point blanks, they are close range, so they're rather easy to do. Kind of do more of a hip fire build, and then kind of so you don't have to waste your time with that. You can knock out long shots as soon as they pop up. PPSH, pretty straightforward as well. 10 kills without taking damage, ADS, and then ADS. So pretty straightforward ADS ones there. You can do the challenges as they come and knock out those long shots as soon as possible. When it comes to the Sten, pretty much straightforward as well. ADS, while moving, headshots. So I wouldn't prioritize headshots until you get to that one, but likely already have it by then. And then this one right here is long shots as well. We're going to have long shots with the Type 100, crouch, and then hip fire. So not a huge thing there. Hip fire you can do at the same time as this one. So you might save that hip fire one, but odds are if you're going for point blanks, depending on how fast you get those done, it might be there. But long shots, you're definitely going to want to save those. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully you find the video helpful, learn something new. If you did, please do me a favor, hit the like button if you're brand new, want to find your way back. Subscribe with notifications on. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.